Hi there, you stormer. We are in the final days towards Christmas. It is the 21st of December 2024, and we've been watching this Grampians Bushfire being going on for some time now in Victoria, Australia. Currently, the fire is heading towards the north at a vigorous pace through the Grampians Park. It's been hit by these post-cold frontal southerlies, which have dragged it up, and now there are emergency warnings involved up in Hall's Gap. People are advised to leave and evacuate. We're going to take a look at a few things back in days past. This brought really red skies to Melbourne yesterday and lots of other things. Let's just quickly deal with the situation right now. It is currently, as I'm recording this, 7:08 p.m. It's likely going to take about 40 minutes or an hour for me to upload this video, so the situation is completely evolving, but it looks like the fire is on either side of Lake Belfield already heading up, and you can see from the satellite imagery it is progressing towards the north in these strong southerlies. It's actually picked up today, even though these are cooler winds. And these winds are going to continue into tomorrow. There is some possible rain tomorrow, but we'll go into that later. I know this area pretty well. I've been biking through here a couple of times, and the thing with Hall's Gap is that it is in a gap. It is a valley settlement, and although there is some removal of the bush around the edges, so the bush is the main fuel for this fire, which is all of this dark green area where we see the eucalyptus native forest, which is what makes the Grampians so fantastic. So the fire is going to be progressing northward. If it's not brought under control, it'll probably progress particularly along the edges of the valley and then in towards Hall's Gap if these southerlies keep up, which they are forecast to do. Concern would be funneling of winds between the valley going in towards the town. To see the origins of this bushfire, we have to go back to 16th of December. This aqua satellite view shows that the smoke plume in the afternoon of 16th of December was spreading to the east, which means westerly winds were fanning the flames. On the 17th of December, the morning view from Terra Modis satellite had the fire died down a bit, but this is the afternoon view from aqua, and this is when the fire really exploded. And now the winds had switched to south-southeasterly following the fire, allowing the fire to burn northwest through the Grampians eucalyptus forest. We've had a couple of high-res satellite images come in. The first is from the 18th of December, and this shows the fire in the relative early stages. It's only burnt out a section down here. But the other on the 20th is from yesterday, and this is showing the fire just as the west winds were beginning to hit the fire, and then you can see the plume beginning to billow out, and this is all that smoke that hit it off and went over Melbourne later. Yesterday was the day that the smoke came over Melbourne, and you can see in this satellite loop that the smoke originally begins moving towards the south, and that's in dry northerlies, and then the west hits. All of a sudden that fire is then moving into unburnt vegetation, unburnt eucalyptus trees and forest, and that really fires up the flames. There's actually a lot of interesting stuff going on here, but we see that smoke. It progresses all the way across towards Melbourne, and then as a result we got these big red skies, and the sun coming through went totally red as well. At sunset the smoke had kind of dispersed a bit, but I did throw up the drone. It was a bit windy and I brought it down pretty quick. The fire didn't have major pyrocumulonimbus activity, but there was one moment, and it looks like it was just as those south winds were beginning to push in and hit the actual fire. It produced probably a surge of convection, and we saw this pulse of cloud going out from the top. Now you can see the actual shadow of the cloud on the smoke below, indicating that it's much, much higher. But there's another way we can look at it, and that's with the infrared. So in this loop, we can't see the detail of the smoke plume too well, but what we can see is the colors, and those indicate really low temperatures of the actual cloud top. So that pulse that we saw earlier, you see it shoot out, it becomes blue and even green. And down at the bottom right, you can just make out that blue and green correspond to temperatures of -40 to -50 Celsius. So this convective plume went all the way up, and actually this one went up all the way to the tropopause. So we had one brief episode of real, pure, strong pyrocumulonimbus activity. In terms of the lightning, there was no lightning that I've seen detected. I've got some friends who are looking into it as well to see if this did produce some lightning, but I don't think it did. Sometimes these obviously do produce lightning. The evening view from the Himawari 9 satellite was pretty spectacular. I think it's kind of when that sun gets low, it begins to light up the dust, and so this shows the fire down here, and then as you've got the westerlies still pushing the plume, and you see it sort of dispersed over Melbourne a bit. But look at the southerly change. All of a sudden, in the late evening, you got this surge of pretty strong southerly winds, and that forced the low-level smoke out across and up towards the north. And as well as that, you can see the boundary of a plume of dust that's been picked up over land as that southerly change moves through. And look how distinct it is. Really remarkable. So let's take a look ahead at the winds. These are the current winds at 8 p.m. just a little bit later from now, 8 p.m. and the area we're looking at is down here just west of Ararat. In here are the Grampians. So you can see that the winds are blowing up from the south, strong southerlies of about 23 knots. I'm actually looking at a little bit above the surface here. This is about 600 meters, but that area is elevated anyway. So these are probably a reasonable indication of the winds. As we go forward into tonight, we see actually a little bit of an increase into the evening, and then it dips down for a period of time. We still got southerlies, but the winds drop. But as you can see, there is something approaching as we head in towards tomorrow. This is 8 a.m. tomorrow. And then, so we still got calm winds, still fairly light winds over the Grampians at this point. But then the winds pick up, and this is associated with a cold front moving in. And this actually is a potential rain bringer, which would be good news. But this is 2 p.m. and then 5 p.m. tomorrow. We really see those winds picking up, and they're a slightly more southwesterly direction, pushing that fire more towards the northeast. And then it moves through, and we get some really strong winds, so we really need that rain to fall, otherwise this is going to really fuel that fire. The temperatures are dropping big time, to the point where there's even forecast to be a bit of snow in the high Australian Alps. And then the winds pass through, and we've still got those strong southwesterlies as we go in towards the early hours of the 23rd. The hope is, though, that as that front comes through, it does bring a little bit of rain here as being picked up by the European Centre Model as it moves through. It's not much though, and that moves through fairly briskly tomorrow evening and then moves off. And then we've got this really quite cool down to 9 degrees in Ararat on Sunday night. And if you look over in the Australian Alps, you'll begin to see some wintry precipitation being picked up over here as that cold air really hits in to the Australian Alps. Wet snow up there around Thredbo. That's Monday morning. Actually continues for a bit as well. So that's about it for today. Let me know what you would like to see more of, less of, or if you think I shouldn't be making these videos at all, please leave a comment. Any comments are most welcome. We're looking at down here at the Suomi MP verse, which has just come in from the last few hours, showing the fire billowing up through the Grampians. I'll just quickly put in the place labels to see if they do have some. If I put in the border and roads, no, they don't have too much detail. But there you go. So yeah, see you in the next one.